Hello, what's better than one new Yokozuna? Well, we're about to find out. So throw!
Throw the salt, get in the ring. Welcome to the Dohyo.
Hello and welcome to the Dohyo here on Mr. JWags channel. We are back and we are recapping a very eventful May Basho. And as always, a huge thank you to all of the channel's patrons. Thank you so much. If you're interested, come check it out. We're having a lot of fun out there. There's a special members-only Hagakioi that I give every Basho, so that'll be coming out in about a week. Check it out. The more support we get, the more episodes there will be. All right, time to talk about that May Basho. Got some thoughts. So of course, you probably don't need me to tell you, but the huge news in sumo right now is that Onosato won his 4th Makuuchi Yusho in only 7 tournaments to achieve the rank of Yokozuna. And he won it with a career best 14-1, losing only to our other new Yokozuna, Hoshoryu. Now, longtime viewers know I have been beating the Onosato drum for a while. What this man is doing is not normal in sumo history. This is the career of a burgeoning true alpha dog. He clinched the 75th Yokozuna rope on the 13th day of his 13th Basho, which is by far the fastest in modern sumo. The next closest was 21 by Yokozuna Wajima, who coincidentally was the only other Yokozuna to graduate from university before entering sumo. But yes, just look at his entire career. It fits very neatly into a single screenshot. What? So that means Onosato will go through his entire career in Grand Sumo never having been demoted. Think about that. I don't know of any other wrestler where that's the case, especially in the 20th century and beyond. So the question right now is, what is the ceiling? And for me, it is, how healthy is he going to be? Because if he keeps at this level of health, I could easily see him getting to 20 Yusho by his 30th birthday. I mean, if you math it out, that's only 3 Yusho per year, but he has shown himself more than capable of doing just that. And moving on to the rest of the Sanyaku, this was a great tournament for the Sanyaku, except for Takayasu. But the rest of the Sanyaku seemed very strong. Our Jun Yusho went to Yokozuna Hoshoryu and Komasubi Wakataka Kage with a 12-3. It was both men's 3rd Jun Yusho and Wakataka Kage's 6th Ginosho Technique Prize. Now, 12-3 is what I thought the Yusho score was going to be. So 12-3, of course, is an excellent score for any wrestler, but Hoshoryu is a Yokozuna now. People are expecting a bit more. Even though 12-3 is great for him, he's still losing to Maegashira in the first week, and he almost lost to Hakuoho. Ooh. So the paradox of Hoshoryu seems to be that he will lose to multiple Maegashira in every tournament, but he will also beat Onosato. So now Wakataka Kage has looked better than he has in years. I was a little wrong about this one. I thought Wakataka Kage was going to top out at about 10 wins in the Sanyaku after his injury, but no, 12-3, he is back on an Ozeki track. Not only that, he was one of the few people to even get close to beating Onosato in this tournament. And now he has likely forced a 3rd Sekiwake slot up there with Kirishima and Daisho, and it looks like all 3 of them are on Ozeki runs right now. Now Daisho ended with a 10-5 and Kirishima ended with an 11-4 and his 4th Ginosho Technique Prize. Now I'm not super optimistic about Daisho and Kirishima. They both have 19 wins over their last 2 tournaments, so it would take an exceptional tournament, 13 wins or more to even get considered. Now Wakataka Kage is a bit closer. He has 21 wins over his last 2, so I think if he gets another 12-3, he'd probably be in, and 11-2, we'll see. Because right now we only have one Ozeki, and he's not looking too good. Yeah, Kotozakura has not looked that great. Since he won the Yusho in November with a 14-1, his win totals have been 5, 8, and 8. Which means if 2 matches had been flipped in the last 2 Basho, we would be entering July with 2 Yokozuna and no Ozeki. And of course, I had Kotozakura as my Yusho pick, so drop it.
JWags was wrong.
But for those of you who remember the predictions episode, I did get quite a few of them right, so give me a little bit on this one. And of course, Komasubi Takayasu got a 6-9, and he'll be dropping out of the Sanyaku. So we're losing a Komasubi to demotion, and we're losing Komasubi to promotion. So where are Komasubi coming from? Well, that takes us to Uncle Sumo's Attaboys. Yes, Uncle Sumo's Attaboys is a recurring segment where we look at some of the wrestlers who maybe didn't get all the press, and frankly, a lot of the press is going in one direction this time, so we give them a little bit of an extra Attaboy. So yeah, since the Joy collectively pooped the bed, it looks like our next Komusubi are going to be Maegashira 6 Oshoma with a 10-5, and either Maegashira 8 Onokatsu with 10 wins or Maegashira 9 Aonishiki with 11 wins. Now Oshoma has just turned 28 and he has tied his best ever Makuuchi record and should be going up into the Sanyaku next tournament. I'm not entirely optimistic on how that's going to go, because if you look at this tournament, he went 10-3 versus Maegashira and 0-2 versus the Sanyaku. Not a huge sample size, but it does not bode incredibly well for his future success. Now, Onokatsu just turned 25 and had his second consecutive 10-5. Now, I feel a little bad for Onokatsu because I feel like in a lot of other years of sumo, he would be getting feasted as the young hotness charging through, but this year he's barely a footnote. Last year he flew under the radar because we had Takeru Fuji and we had Onosato winning all these Yusho, and this year I think he's getting slightly pushed to the side because of guys like Maegashira 9 Aonishiki. Okay, he is looking amazing. I'm going to have to revise my Aonishiki ceiling upward. He's only had 2 Basho up in the Makuuchi division. He's got an 11-4 and a Fighting Spirit prize for both of them. And yes, Aonishiki is a little bit smaller than average, but he seems to have that body type, kind of like Wakatakakage or Hoshoryu, where it's just, he can gain the weight, but it's very solid weight. It's not like bulk weight. He may just have one of those bodies where he just has a hard time keeping the roundy physique. Now, I don't quite see Aonishiki as like the Onosato kind of thunderbolt. Those are very, very rare. But I do see him as having the technique and the strength and the drive to thrive at the top of the Makuuchi Banzuke for 10 years. And yes, Aonishiki will be featured in my upcoming Who Will Be Our Next Ozeki episode. Quick sidebar. So longtime viewers will know that every 6 months or so, I will do a Who Will Be Our Next Ozeki rankings and Who Will Be Our Next Yokozuna rankings. Now long time viewers will remember that I used to not do the Who Will Be Our Next Yokozuna episode because frankly, I didn't really see anyone on the Banzuke who I thought could plausibly make Yokozuna before I did the next rankings in 6 months. I think we're there again. I mean, right now we only have one Ozeki, and he's not doing that well. And since you need to make Ozeki before you get to Yokozuna, it feels like most of that list will just be the Who Will Be Our Next Ozeki list. Yes? So I'm very, very sorry if you're disappointed that we're not going to do a next Yokozuna episode. We are definitely doing a Who Will Be Our Next Ozeki, and we will be updating the charts of my tiers, so don't worry. Quick sidebar. Back to the Attaboys, Maegashira 8 Kinbozan. I thought that Maegashira 7 through 12 were going to have some fascinating stories this tournament, and yeah, right about that one. Kinbozan seems to have bounced back from last tournament where he got bumped up to the Joy after his Junyusho in January. Did not do too well last tournament, but has bounced back to a 10-5. Now, I don't see this as turning into a breakout for Kinbozan and that he's going to be a Sanyaku regular anytime soon. I see him sort of like Takanosho as a bit of a Makuuchi yo-yo. He'll do really well, then he's going to be overranked, and then he's not going to do well, bounce back down, cycle repeats, yo-yo. And finally, Maegashira 13 Sadano Umi. Now, I know we give a lot of credit to Tamawashi for being 40 and still wrestling and getting winning records. So, Sadano Umi is 38 and just got a 10-5 and his 3rd Fighting Spirit prize. Now, Sadano Umi earned his first Kanto show with a 10-4 in his Makuuchi debut, which was in May of 2014. And now it's time for Worried, a recurring segment where we look at some wrestlers who did not have a great tournament, and we figure out if we are worried about their future prospects. Well, I am worried about Maegashira 7 Hakuoho. Now, he got an 8-7. Now, a couple of these people actually got winning records, but I'm still a little bit worried. Hakuoho started 7-0 and ended 8-7. You do the math. He ended with 6 consecutive losses. Now, yes, he did end up facing a much harder schedule down the road because he got promoted very aggressively. But still, dropping 6 in a row is not good, and I'm mostly worried about the sheer number of wraps that seem to have accumulated on his arm and ankle from day 1 to day 15. That is never a good sign, especially for someone who has a long history. He's 21, but he still has a long history of shoulder and bicep injuries. But yes, he's only 21, so hopefully that means he's still got some healing power left in that young body, and whatever it is, I hope it does not turn into anything chronic, because I really want to see a long and successful career from this excellent young wrestler. I am worried about Maegashira 9 Midori Fuji. He ended with a 6 and 9. Well, he started 0 and 9 and then won his last 6, but all of those 6 wins came against wrestlers who had double-digit losses this tournament, except Nishikigi, who is probably going down to JWags. So you have to wonder, is age starting to catch up with Midori Fuji a little early? I think he's only 28, but still, it ain't the years, it's the miles, and when you're a young guy like that, there are no easy matches in Makuuchi. Or do we think that the rest of Makuuchi has sort of figured out his move? As we know, Midori Fuji is famous for the Katatsukashi, or like the armpit underarm pull down. Have people just figured out, don't give the little man your armpit and you'll be fine? And speaking of Katatsukashi, another quick sidebar. Was anyone else noticing that this tournament we had relatively few Henka and a whole lot of like really rare techniques? I think there were like 2 Ami Uchi. Aonishiki had an Uchi Muso, which is like the hand pushing the inner thigh. There were just a lot of very, very rare Kimarite, and I am here for it. Ura ended up beating Takayasu with that Tsutezori, forgive my pronunciation. So yeah, just wondering if anyone else had noticed that Henkas were kind of down this tournament, but like weird, rare Kimarite were up. Quick sidebar. I'm also worried about Maegashira 12 Atami Fuji. And again, Atami Fuji got a winning record, but I think we were all just hoping for better than an 8 and 7 at Maegashira 12. So yeah, this hurts, but I think I may be getting off the Atami Fuji hype train. His first 2 Makuuchi Basho were both 11 and 4. They were both Jun Yusho. Like, what's this kid gonna do? Well, ever since then, between 5 and 8 wins, and that's been sort of it. I mean, in January 2024, he was Maegashira 1, and now we are going into July 2025, and it looks like he's still probably going to be somewhere around, like, double-digit Maegashira. Not what we were hoping for. And like with Hakuoho, he's still very young. He's only 22, so there is time for a comeback, but I'm worried. I'm not worried about Maegashira 4 Takeru Fuji. He got a 6 and 9. I thought he was going to get somewhere between 7 and 9, but like, it's pretty close. I was expecting him to have a bit of growing pains once he hit the joy. Of course, this is a career high rank for him. He's never had to spend 15 consecutive days facing the best sumo wrestlers in the world. Remember, even though Takeru Fuji is only 26, he's only had 6 basho in the Makuuchi division, and one of those was entirely Kyujo. So if you just look at his May list of opponents, the most he had faced anyone was 4 times, and he was debuting against 3 opponents. So I just think he needs a little bit of time to get used to these opponents. Now he's 26, which is not old, but it is older than both of our current Yokozuna. So I'm not seeing a Yokozuna run for him, but I do think he could absolutely make it up to the Sanyaku, possibly an Ozeki run. And I'm not worried about Maegashira 1 Oho. Now, as predicted, he got a losing record and a Kimboshi, and I'm not that worried about it. He seems like he's still a very solid, fundamental wrestler. This just seems to be Oho's way. Like, he'll have a really great tournament, he'll leap up to a new part of the Bansuke, and then he'll just sort of, like, gather for a bit, and just, like, gather his strength, and then, like, after, like, 2, 3, 4 basho, then he'll take another leap. So I would expect another great tournament out of Oho, either in July or September. I am hoping that eventually Oho will, like, get over it, like, get up to the Sanyaku and just, like, stay in the Sanyaku joy for a bit. He's big, he's talented, I think he can do it, and I think he was nursing an injury this tournament. So yeah, I think Oho has a great career ahead of him, not worried. Now let's see who's taken that midnight train to Judio. Well, the demotion and promotion picture got a little more interesting since the last Quick Strike. I thought we were going to have 3 promotion demotions, but right now it looks like we might have 5, possibly 6. Definitely going down is Maegashira 18 Tochi Taikai with 4 wins, Maegashira 17 Tamashoho also with 4, both Maegashiras 15 Shonan no Umi and Ryuden with 5, and Maegashira 16 Nishikigi with 6. Those are the ones who are definitely going down, but we have one Maegashira 11 Shishi, with a 4 and 11. It looks like he's going to be right on the borderline, so much will be dependent on who the promotable records are. Well, first up has to be Judio 1 West Kusano, who just won his 2nd consecutive Judio Yusho, which is really hard to do because when you tend to win a Judio Yusho, you get promoted. But this time he was at Judio 14, got promoted up to Judio 1, and won his 2nd consecutive Judio Yusho for the first time since Shima no Umi in 2019. Also with promotable records, Judio 5 Waka Ikari with 12 wins, Judio 1 and former champion and Ozeki Mitakeyumi with 8, Judio 2 Hideno Umi with 9 wins, and Judio 7 Kotoeho with 11. Now the other Judeo 7, Tomokaze, he's real close. He's 1 win below Kotoeho, so that's also going to put him right at the borderline. There could be a flip between Shishi and Tomokaze, but I don't think so. I think we're going to have 5 up, 5 down for July. So once again, me watching too much television as a child has affected my sumo thinking. Sumo is not like any other TV show where you would want to space out your major plot points over the course of an entire year or an entire season. Nope, we're ready. We're ready right now. We had 3 Ozeki at the beginning of the year, all of whom I thought had a decent chance to make Yokozuna, and halfway through the year, 2 of them didn't. Just because we just promoted a new Yokozuna doesn't mean the next one isn't ready. And I feel like with this promotion, the page has been turned. The generational change is finally here. The generation that feared Hakuoho at their peak is now aging out and slowly dripping their way off the Banzuke. Most recently with the Intai of Hokuto Fuji. But I can't expect we're going to be seeing guys like Takarafuji, Mitakeyumi, Kageaki for very much longer. And yes, we started the year with 3 Ozeki, all of whom we thought had the chance to possibly make Yokozuna this year. Kotozakura didn't quite happen. Now, I know Kotozakura has had a long-time knee injury, and that has been affecting his career ever since he had it, but based on last November, I thought there would be at least a few tournaments where Kotozakura could really shine and get to that Yokozuna level, but ever since he won that Yusho, he's gotten 21 total wins. He's achieved the bare minimum to keep rank at Ozeki, which objectively is impressive, but we were expecting more. Is there any more true sumo excellence for Kotozakura, or has he already started his decline at 27? Now, Hoshoryu is only 2 basho into his Yokozuna reign, and he has already lost the spotlight. And I think we're still figuring out about Hoshoryu, is he the type of wrestler who does better with a spotlight or his best work in the shadows? Now, the real question for Hoshoryu is, can he get through week 1 without a loss? Because if this is going to be the bar for Onosato going forward, he's going to need every win he can get. I mean, I can very easily imagine a nightmare scenario unfolding in like Groundhog Day-esque fashion over the next few years. Just a series of day 15s where Hoshoryu throws Onosato to the ground. Onosato gets up, dusts himself off, and collects his next Emperor's Cup. Now, as for Onosato, what happens when you get everything you ever dreamed of at age 24? And speaking as someone who is in the entertainment industry, let me tell you, getting everything you want all at once is not necessarily a good thing. Now, there are no questions about Onosato's skill, his technique, his sumo heart, but is he ready to be the face of the national sport of Japan? Is he strong enough for that responsibility? Now, I know we've all seemed to have memory holed this, but remember about a year ago when the Onosato drinking scandal came out at Nisho no Seki's stable? But there is no doubt that, ready or not, Onosato's life is about to change forever. I mean, as an American, we do not get a lot of sumo in our everyday news, but I personally received no fewer than 4 alerts from American news sources about this story, something I hadn't seen since Hakuoho retired. Now, as I've said many times before, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to say many times in the future, this is not normal. Onosato is something different and something special. Now, while the May Basho did answer like a lot of questions about the future of sumo, it did leave perhaps our most exciting subplot unresolved. By every statistical metric, Onosato is a superior wrestler to Hoshoryu, except when they get in the ring. Now, that fact is creating a tension at the top of Grand Sumo that I have never seen. And frankly, I am very excited to watch sumo for the next few years to see how that tension gets resolved. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Dohyo. Please, if you have not, like and subscribe and comment. Remember, you interacting with the show is the only way YouTube knows how to experience love. So give YouTube a little bump there. And yes, double thanks for the patrons. You've deserved it. I love you most of all. Stay tuned to the channel. You're not going to want to miss the Who Will Be Our Next Ozeki episode. We are updating the charts of our tiers, and the Terra no Fuji episode is coming. I am building graphs as we speak. Not as we speak, but when I'm done, I'm going to do more graphs. You understand. All right, everyone stay safe, stay strong, stay healthy, and I will see you next time on the Dohyo.